Imagine this, my friends across the pond in the US and UK. It's 1521, and the sturdy walls of Belgrade, yeah, that's the city in modern-day Serbia, are rattling like they're in an earthquake from those massive Ottoman cannons booming away. The sky turns black with thick smoke from endless bombardments, and you can hear the gut-wrenching screams of desperate folks echoing down the narrow streets of this besieged fortress. Hold your breath. When those walls finally give way and crumble, and the elite janissaries, those fierce Ottoman infantry, come charging through like a tidal wave. That's the moment one of the most chilling episodes in Ottoman conquest history kicks off. What about the wives of those brave but defeated warriors? Not just a quick end or being sent packing into exile. Oh no, something way more sinister awaited them, practices so vile they'd make even the toughest medieval folks gasp in horror. Can you feel the suspense building? This wasn't random war stuff. It was a slick, organized setup that turned real people into mere goods for trade. Those poor women faced not death, but the utter demolition of who they were, their identities, their dignity, unveiling the ugliest side of Turkish empire building. Shocking, isn't it? Let's rewind a bit to really wrap your head around this nightmare. Picture the Ottoman Empire at its absolute peak, with Constantinople, now Istanbul, folks, as the epicenter of a ruthless system that flipped military wins into a giant factory for exploiting humans like never before in history. Proven facts from solid historical sources show this wasn't some accidental brutality or unchecked savagery. Nope, it was deliberate state policy, all laid out in Islamic laws and everyday admin rules that controlled every single detail of what happened to the losers. Ever heard of sabaya? That's the Islamic legal term for women snagged in wartime, rooted deep in religious jurisprudence. The Ottomans didn't mess around. They applied it with scary, machine-like efficiency. Think about that. A whole empire running human tragedy like a well-oiled business. So a city gets conquered. What's the first move? Not wild, chaotic pillaging like in the movies. It's this eerie, systematic roundup. Special officers fan out through the rubble-strewn streets, herding and sorting everyone, men over here, women there, kids in another group. For the women, it's pure degradation time. They're put through this humiliating eval to slap a price tag on them for the slave markets. The young and gorgeous ones, reserved right away for the fancy harems of top officers or shipped off to be auctioned in Constantinople's bustling markets. Older women, doomed to back-breaking house chores or the absolute worst, most demeaning jobs you can imagine. The whole selection gig, cold as ice, like a corporate inventory check. Ottoman doctors, real pros, examine them head to toe, just like farmers sizing up cattle, checking health, how old they are for having kids, their looks and strength. The prime picks get special marks tattooed or branded on, then yanked away from the others. Heart-pounding stuff, right? This was just step one in a hellish road trip that aimed to wipe out everything they once were. Imagine being one of them, your world shattered, and it's only getting worse. The trek to those slave markets. Talk about psychological warfare on steroids. Chained up like animals, crammed into rickety carts, or forced to march on foot for hundreds of grueling miles across rough terrain. Many didn't make it, dropping from exhaustion, disease, or sheer despair. Can you picture the endless days of pain, the betrayal of your own body giving out? Those who somehow staggered alive into the massive markets of Constantinople, Bursa, that's an ancient city in Turkey, or Ankara. They soon realized their ordeal was ramping up, not winding down. Suspenseful, huh? These markets weren't shady back alley deals. They were full-blown institutions, with strict rules, regulations, and even buyer warranties, like returning faulty goods if the slave got sick right after purchase. In Constantinople's Eminonu district, think a busy harbour area, these captured Christian women were put on display like items in a grim showroom. Potential buyers could poke around freely, check their teeth for rot, squeeze muscles for strength, even make them demo cooking or cleaning skills before bidding. It was all engineered to humiliate, to grind down any last bit of pride or fight left in them. What would you do? Scream inside, plot revenge, or just numb out to survive? Now, the youngest and most stunning women, their fate in the Ottoman harems was especially brutal. Time to bust some myths wide open. Forget those flowery romantic stories from old novels or Hollywood flicks about exotic luxury and passion. Total baloney. Based on checked historical records, these harems were nothing but gilded cages, sparkling prisons buzzing with constant fear, jealousy, and cutthroat competition. Take the imperial harem at Topkapi Palace. That's the Sultan's massive Istanbul pad. It housed thousands of women snatched from battlefields all over the empire, each one scrambling just to stay alive in a snake pit of deadly schemes and random favoritism from the big shots. It wasn't all about bedroom fun. It was raw power and total control. These women had to ditch everything: their mother tongues, their Christian faiths, even their birth names. Bam! New Turkish names assigned, forced to learn Ottoman ways and manners, or face savage physical beatings. This wasn't cultural exchange. It was a calculated brainwash to erase their old selves, turning them into property of the empire. Not just on paper, but deep in their minds. Betrayal at its core, folks. How's that for personal drama? If they dared resist this forced makeover, oh boy, the torments were tailor-made to crush your spirit. No food or water for days, locked in pitch-black cells alone with your thoughts, whippings and worse, applied like clockwork until you broke. Many couldn't take the mental grind. They spiraled into madness or chose suicide as the only way out. Picture the horror: walls closing in, hope fading. Real accounts from the few who escaped later confirm this. Proven facts, not tall tales. It's enough to make your blood run cold. The most unsettling thing about the whole Ottoman setup: its creepy bureaucratic smoothness. Every single captured woman got entered into official ledgers. Where she came from, her age, what skills she had, her estimated market price. Imperial scribes, think government clerks, kept these records spotless, building a massive archive of pure human suffering. It wasn't just for tracking, it showed off the Sultan's iron fist over his beaten subjects. For the wives of big-deal warriors or from cities that held out extra long, extra special cruelty reserved just for them. Imagine this betrayal: a commander's wife forced into the harem of the very Ottoman officer who slaughtered her husband. Psychological gut punch designed to shatter resistance across whole populations. It screamed, no one's safe, not even your nobles. Rhetorical question: could anything feel more like ultimate vengeance? But wait, there's a twisted money side too. These women weren't only for sex or scrubbing floors, they were breeding stock for future slaves. Kids born to them, instant property of the master, locking in a forever cycle of bondage that rolled on through generations. Mums had to raise these little ones, pouring love into them, all while knowing any day they could be ripped away, sold off, or gifted like trinkets. The horror of that maternal betrayal, can you even fathom it? Your own flesh and blood, but not yours to keep. And don't get me started on the forced religion switch. Captured Christian women got dragged through conversions to Islam that were more like ritual shaming sessions than anything spiritual. Say no? Systematic torture until you caved. Beatings, isolation, you name it. Once converted, boom, no legal shot at going back home or rejoining family, even if you miraculously escaped. The mind games were endless. The lasting damage, devastating. Survivor stories, verified from historical docs, paint pictures of lifelong scars. Profound trauma that never healed. Many couldn't slot back into their old worlds, having lost their languages, beliefs, and customs after years in chains. The Ottomans didn't just chain bodies, they pulverized souls. Pure horror, right there. Was there pushback? Absolutely, though it was super rare, with eyes watching everywhere. Some brave women plotted group escapes, others starved themselves to death in protest. A few snuck secret messages to far-off families. Get caught. Extreme punishment, public tortures meant to terrify anyone else thinking of trying. These acts of defiance, they're the sparks of human spirit in the dark. Makes you cheer for them, doesn't it? Imagine the courage it took. This whole exploitation machine's shadow. It stretched way beyond Ottoman borders. Their polished practices shaped slavery systems across the Muslim world for centuries, setting legal and admin examples that stuck around. That efficient dehumanization, a scary template other empires copied and tweaked. The fallout on people and cultures, massive. Over hundreds of years of Ottoman push, hundreds of thousands of women got torn from their homes in the Balkans, Eastern Europe, and Middle East. Whole communities left with huge gaps. No mothers, no sisters, messing up populations and twisting ethnic mixes forever. Entire regions changed, cultures scarred deep. Proven demographic shifts from archives tell the tale. Tons of evidence sits in Ottoman records, but for ages historians downplayed or prettied it up, fixating on the empire's military wins or grand admin. Romantic harem myths, busted by recent deep dives into primary sources and fresh viewpoints. Now we see the full, systematized scale, no sugarcoating. This Ottoman way with captured women. It's a stark lesson in how unchecked power rots humanity to the core. Turning folks into property via fancy paperwork shows civilization and extreme cruelty can share a bed if the barbarism gets organized, okayed, and stamped by the state. In our time, battling for human rights and dignity. This history's a grim wake-up. Moral gains aren't locked in. Humanity's knack for planned evil, always lurking. Remember those nameless victims, their identities scrubbed, but their pain ringing through time. It pushes us to watch out for any setup treating people like stuff. What if it was your loved ones, your history? Stay sharp, folks. Let's learn and honor them by never letting it repeat.